Thank you. Thank you so much, Trivedi ji. It was a very important message in modern times, which is the theme of our convention today. So it's very timely and relevant, and I really appreciate it. So moving forward with our convention, now I will invite Mr. Vibuthi Jha, who is one of our guest speakers, a keynote speaker today. And I'll start with uh, first checking. Vibuthi ji, you are able to unmute yourself. Great.
I did unmute myself.
Okay, wonderful. So I have the pleasure of introducing and inviting Vibuthi ji today. Vibuthi ji came to US a long time back in 1991, and he came for a professional reason to run and manage. Yeah, he came to US to run American Express business relationship. Very quickly, he grew it. He moved to New York. Being an entrepreneur in heart, he has been scaling and growing businesses on the professional side. But in his personal life, he has been extremely active. Have been running programs like Namaste India. Have been very active in public and in media, and have also been supporting causes around the globe. So I have the immense pleasure of inviting Vibuthi ji to share his wisdom with us today. Vibuthi ji, over to you.
श्री जी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद इस निमंत्रण के लिए। और मैं ये कहना चाहूंगा कि यहाँ तो ब्राह्मणों के बीच में विद्वता की कमी नहीं होती है। So we are all wise people. So let's not confuse anything about that any one of us has superior wisdom over other. We are very wise people. And as a very proud Brahmin, I always say is that, it is a great matter of pride to be connected with an organized effort like this. So a little bit of a background would be essential to share with you. I belong to Bihar, and as you can make out from my name, and I'm a very proud Bihari. Studied in Netarhat School in Bihar, and then moved to Pune because Lalu Yadav ji had completely destroyed the Bihar education system. So I moved to Pune, where they had a system of provisional eligibility. So the element of survivability has always been in me, because at 9 or 10 years of age, when you compete to join a school system, a Gurukula school system, so competition comes in you. The desire to survive the odds comes into you. So that's who I am in a nutshell, that I have always found a way to survive. And that's important for us. So, as it happens, I joined Reserve Bank of India in a probationary examination. And then after living there for 7 years, I decided that enough of government. I was always driven by what is known as a performance-based culture. Performance matters, as I always joke about it, in seriousness, with all seriousness, with the battlefield, boardroom, sports field, everywhere, performance matters. So I was driven by that intent of mine. Because in Netarhat School, for example, growing up, you realize that performance matters. So just as Trivedi ji keh rahe the abhi, ki, we have to fight reservation. Let me share with you one example. 1978, I joined Reserve Bank of India in Bangalore. उन दिनों officers quarters reserve होते थे, officers quarters की allotment होती थी. My turn came for allotment, and I didn't get it in the first 2 attempts. You know the reason why? In 1978, it came as a horror to me to know that those turns were reserved for SC/ST guys to get the allotment of the quarters. So it had seeped into that extent. I am familiar with it since 1978. That was the time I decided I will not be working in an environment where gadhe ghode ek saman hote hain. Wait for my promotion turn to come and then get promoted. For me, it was always the desire that you perform, you must get recognized and rewarded. Now, coming to this important issue that reservation poses us, and this is a question that bothers me all the time. Why are we, the people, the Brahmins, who are supposed to be all the brainiest of all the guys, जिसके बारे में हमारे सारे दुश्मन हमारे पीछे पड़े हैं सर तन से जुदा करने के लिए, बिकॉज दे रिकॉग्नाइज कि अगर शरीर कितना भी भीमकाय हो, कितना भी स्ट्रांग हो, लेकिन सर को हटा दिया तो बाकी सब बेकार हो जाते हैं. सो वी आर अ टारगेट, एंड वी आर अ टारगेट फॉर अ रीजन, बिकॉज वी थिंक, we legislate, we do things that makes the process work, because everything happens right out here. So we are a target. I am a target. I have been targeted. That's why I'm trying to tell you this. Survivability is key to all of us. And if we do not use our wisdom to protect our interest, then what good is our wisdom to us? So I'm not here to share wisdom with you. You have enough of it. Through studies, through knowledge, through experience, you have enough of it. I'm going to share with you my experience of life in what you and I can do actually. You know, I'm a follower of Swami Vivekananda ji. Unke teen shabd jo hai, 3 A's, are the motto of my life. Arise, awaken, and assert until your goal is met. And to that, I have added most humbly my 4th A, which is act. Because if you do not act, your knowledge means nothing to you. It doesn't mean anything to anybody. Acquisition of knowledge or information is the easiest thing in the world. All you have to do is not even open Vedic chapters, just go Google. You have every information conceivable available to you. But what are we doing with that knowledge? That's the important part. And to that end, I would say that, you know, when survivability becomes a key part, we are facing an existential threat. 4 saal pehle, I mean, at this point in time in my American Express career as a corporate banking and private banking, we did phenomenal work of bringing business from India to the US, in US to India. I'm very proud of that. It didn't happen easily. You have to work for that. You had to work for that. I do not know what you were doing in April 1991, but that was the time when I came to the US, when India had no story to tell. We had no story to tell. I created that narrative. I built the narrative. I told that narrative. And I addressed those issues all by myself. No help, either from the government or the consulate. I did it myself. Very proud of my achievement. And that's something which is important. And that's something that I learned in American Express long back. I was a very good designer of products and services in my bank. How does one achieve his fame and glory? That's how I achieved my fame. That this Vibuthi Jha was designer of products and services. Until one day, my country manager and regional manager called me and to say that I believe you are the one who has created these products and services. But if you do not tell me, how would I know about it? And it is not about beating your trumpet or blowing your horn. It's letting other people know who you are and what you are doing. Stating your claim. If you do not claim what is yours, then people take away what is yours. That's what is important. That's something, a lesson that you and I need to know this. Who the Brahmins are. What do they do? Why are they called Brahmins? Does anybody know about it? Nobody knows about it. We are today a target attack. We are targeted to attack. Remember one thing, any attack that happens on upper caste, it's always the Brahmin. The Rajput and others are not attacked. You know why? Because sartan se juda ho gaya to haath ya paw mein jitni bhi taakat ho uska koi arth nahi hota. सोचिए इस बात को. इसलिए हम targeted हैं. We are under target. If we do not arise, awake, assert, and act, we are going to be part of history. History that is called once upon a time. There were a group of people who were Brahmins. How do you counter that? How do you counter that? So what I wanted to share with you, I was honored to have been a keynote speaker at the BSNA Samaj event in San Diego several years ago. And I had the privilege of meeting quite a few of you here. But where have we moved since then? That is the question. What has happened in the last 5 years? What have we done to protect and defend our interests and our causes? I'm asking this question to myself and to all of us individually and collectively. What have we done? What steps have we taken to move forward? My answer, perhaps guess, would be nothing at all. I would be very happy to be proven wrong. Sanjay Pandeyji is here. You can tell me, what progress have we actually made, which is measurable, definable, to say that, yes, this is the difference that we make. So today I'm here not to say how great we are as people. Today I'm here to remind you of Maithili Sharan Gupta ki kavita. हम कौन थे, क्या हो गए और क्या होंगे अभी, आओ विचारे आज मिलकर ये समस्याएं सभी। विचार विमर्श विश्लेषण विमोचन विख्यान तो बहुत हो गया। समस्या क्या है हम सब जानते हैं उस बात को, उसका समाधान क्या है, what is the solution for that, how are our children progressing? These are issues which are burning issues in our hand. What are we doing about it? So as parents, as grown-ups, as grandparents, or soon going to be grandparents, we have an enormous responsibility to manage our children. We have enormous responsibility for us to create awareness about our own selves. अपने संस्कार को बचाना है, अपने संस्कार अपनी भाषा को बचाना है, you know. So the point which I am trying to say to you is that Sanatan Dharma, or Brahmanical values, very interesting thing happened in the presidential campaign with Vivek Ramaswamy. I think his biggest contribution to Hindus has been how he has beautifully connected Hindu values, Sanatan values with Judeo-Christian values. It may not be identical, but he has connected, created a connect. When he was asked this question, that how does a Hindu, a Brahmin, relate within American society? I today did a 10-minute show on Jaipur Dialogue USA. Those of you who are interested, please check it out. I'm very often doing shows on Jaipur Dialogue USA with Sanjay Dikshit ji. And I run as a parallel intent to create that narrative. I have also started Jaipur Dialogue USA. So please go ahead, subscribe to it, like it, and share it. We bring about thought processes. I did today a show on Vivek Ramaswamy. Point is very important. He established a link. He erased a barrier between Hindus and Judeo-Christian values. He said we are different, but our values are the same. So we have to understand the mechanism with which we can connect with the rest of the world. And I want to share something you might find it very ridiculous, but that question comes to mind. And I said this with some of the hardcore Baptist Christians. You know, they asked me about our caste system. And this is my explanation. You do not have to agree with it. You can trash it if you like. But if you see any wisdom in it, then take it forward. That's all I want to say to you. They asked me, what is this damn thing, caste system you have, the Brahmin and all that? I said, hey, the caste system exists everywhere. And I had to answer the question for them to understand. So I said, you are also a casteist. And he was totally astounded. This is the CEO of a big company. He said, what do you mean by that? I said, so long as you have a head and you use it, that's what we Brahmins do. This is where it is. So whether you're a Catholic, black, white, any color, your body as created by God is a reflection of every functionality in life. And I explained to him that everybody in the government, from Prime Minister, President, to the bottommost employee, they are into the business of legislating, making rules, and making sure that the system works. They are all Brahmins. Every country has its own set of Brahmins. And then there are people who perform a job, warriors, the Kshatriyas, the hand, the body, the feet, and everything else does a job because those people are willing to risk their lives to protect a life, asset, territory, or boundary in the name of the country. They're willing to sacrifice their life. They are the modern Kshatriyas, they're modern warriors. Everybody from armed forces to the bank chowkidar. Everybody is a warrior because they're willing to sacrifice their life. From Bill Gates to Warren Buffett and Ambani and Adani and everybody else, they are performing trade and commerce, including the guy who is selling pan and bidi in front of a restaurant in Bihar or anywhere else in India. They are indulging in trade and commerce. They are the modern baniyas, shudras you can call them, but baniyas. And then there are people who perform a service. So in good old times, cleaning the street, cleaning everything else, hygienic work was supposed to be the work of the shudras. Today, the service providers are bankers, accountants, IT services, travel agents, airline pilots. They are the modern shudras today. Believe it or not, to my surprise, they accepted that explanation because I told them in the language that they understand. Thank you, Pathakji. They understood the language. And I also said to them, think about your own body. When you use your head, regardless of what color creed you come from, you are using your head, your intellect, your brain power, the wiring in there to do something, right? You use your hand, that's the Brahmin's job. You become a Brahmin when you are using your head or your brain. When you use your hand and feet to do things, you are a warrior at that time because these are the instruments of performance. They execute things. Your baniya sits here in the stomach, you feed the food and you have to nurse the system. And when you clean your body, whether shauch or mutradar or kisi karan se, that's the time when you are performing the job of a Shudra. You are a Harijan at that time. Do you tell somebody else to clean you up? Other than when you need help in a hospital bed, perhaps. But otherwise, you do all the jobs yourself and you are embodiment of a life that God has given you. You can't disagree with that. Surprise, surprise, they agreed. That's right. I cleaned my own butt. I said, nobody comes to vacuum you there. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm trying to be very straightaway telling everybody here. The time has come to act. Wisdom exists in plenty. Somebody asked me, what is dharma? I said, intuitively, instinctively, and with knowledge, we all know when we're doing the right thing and the wrong thing. We all know that. We don't need to be told about it. ये सही है या वो गलत है, ये करना धर्म है, ये करना अधर्म है, हम सब जानते हैं. जब हम अपने मन में जब हम कुछ गलत काम करते हैं तो हमें पता है कि हम गलत काम कर रहे हैं, उसमें कुछ नहीं छुपा सकते हैं आप. जब सही काम करते हैं वो भी आपको पता होता है कि आई एम डूइंग द राइट थिंग. We all know intuitively, individually, and instinctively. That's what is important for us Brahmins, to raise our voices together. And remember one thing, we have to articulate the Sanatan principle. You know, I want to tell you something. I said this on Jaipur Dialogue in a conversation. This century, not this age, not this decade, this century belongs to us Sanatanis, the Hindus. I am very blatant about that. I don't mince my words. I don't hide my words. And I said, our life, our way of life is the message to the whole world today. Technology and science, advancement in science is our biggest ally because our way of life is based on Sanatan principles which are eternal, forever, right? Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, I had the privilege where I was invited to speak at the G20 event in Mahabalipuram just 2 months ago. I spoke on Prime Minister wanted that how do we make Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam a global phenomenon is something that we have to decide on that. And I said this to the entire forum, which was organized by Chinmaya Mission and others. I said, why must it take 2,000 years or 5,000 years to understand Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam? What are we doing about it? How do we take this message forward to the world around? I think Prime Minister Modi, I mean, some of you may not like him or whatever, may have disagreement on his political actions, but you cannot deny the fact that he's doing the right things and saying the right things. So when he inaugurates, So when many years ago, when he initiated International Solar Alliance, he gave a new definition to Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. One sun, one earth, one grid. And then the message was of that G20 convention was, one world, one family, same happiness. We are all concerned with the universal success, universal principles. Every parent loves their children universally. We all cry when there is a death in the family. We all rejoice when there is a birth in the family. All that we want is that we live peacefully. What is the problem with this message? That nobody gets it. This is what we have to take forward. And what I want to say to you again, given the time and everything else is concerned, I don't want to speak for 45 minutes. I want to thank all of you for giving me as much time. But if I'm able to inspire you to action, that's what is required. There was a time when it used to be said कि लक्ष्मी और सरस्वती का सहनिवास नहीं होता है, लेकिन आज की दुनिया में लक्ष्मी और सरस्वती का सहनिवास जरूरी है, तभी मुद्रा आती है आपके पास. The higher education leads to better employment and opportunity. So भिक्षा मांगिए, लेकिन गर्व से मांगिए. अगर करना हो तो अपनी विद्वता दिखा के मांगिए. My suggestion to you, all of us will be here. 3 दिन का convention है. आप लोग बहुत चर्चा कर रहे हैं. Let's do one thing. Why are we doing this on Zoom? Why aren't we in person today? This is something we have to think about. लक्ष्मी नहीं है तभी शायद नहीं हो रहा है ना. तो आज 20, I'm happy with 30 warriors than 300 पान खाए सैया हमार type लोग. It's my favorite phrase, which I say it on the TV as well. I'm happy with 30 strong warriors than 300 पान खाए सैया हमार लोग. It's important for us to activate ourselves, regenerate ourselves. And I have begun to ask the question. Ladies and gentlemen here, to all of you, I am appealing to you. Get into a dialogue and conversation. Demanding reciprocity is key. I tell my Muslim friends and Christian friends, I'm on record saying this, and I'm on record saying it again here today. I'm very happy you have found Jesus to be your ultimate savior. I'm very happy for you. Leave me alone with my Krishna, Shiva, and Ram. Why can't you? I've told Muslim friends of mine, I'm very delighted that you found Allah the Supreme. Leave me with my Krishna, with Ram, and my Shiva. Right? And I have questioned Christian people on this. We have to begin engaging in dialogue from school board, PTA to the rest of the forum. And I have demanded that part of it is that conversion is a sin against God's original intent. That's my favorite phrase. Conversion is a sin against God's original intent. And what I mean by that, I told these guys, I tell this openly. I said, if God is the ultimate magician, if he wanted Vibuthi Jha to be Muhammad, he could have given birth to me this soul could have been very well easily be born in a Muslim family. If he wanted me to be a Victor, I could have been in a Christian family, but he made me Vibuthi. So if you tell me that only Jesus or Muhammad can save my life, you are insulting God. Think about it. You are insulting God's original intent. We don't question that part. When I demand these inquiries, they shut up. I make this mention. I told my Muslim friends, you have all right under freedom of religion banner to question my Murti Puja, my Pratha, my Sanskar, my Mandirs. You have full right to ask questions. But if you deny me the ability to ask and make an inquiry about your faith, then sorry, we have no conversation. And they have no conversation. This is how you engage in a conversation. Don't be apologetic for what we are, who we are. We are most of the time, we Hindus end up being apologetic. Oh, हमारे यहाँ caste है. अरे caste नहीं है भाई. हमारे यहाँ तो वर्ण system है. हमारे यहाँ तो वर्ण system था हमेशा से. You are defined by who you are. And I give this example. I'm being very straight away practical with these scenarios with you, because I don't want to share knowledge and wisdom. I want to share experience of life and living. That's true living. So for example, I told my Muslim friend, he asked me, तुम लोग कैसे इंसान हो, पूजा भी नहीं करते हो, कहते हो कि मंदिर नहीं गए, पूजा नहीं की, लेकिन फिर भी अपने आप को भगवान का भक्त बनाते हो, हम तो 5 बार नमाज पढ़ते हैं। तो I said something very simple, आप 5 बार पढ़ो या 50 बार पढ़ो, लेकिन आप इस प्रश्न का उत्तर दीजिए हमें। आपका बंदा 5 बार नमाज पढ़ के अपने को बॉम्ब लगा करके बाजार में विस्फोट करता है, खुद भी मरता है, 5 को मारता भी है, 50 को घायल भी करता है। विभूति झा ना मंदिर गया, 1 हफ्ते से मंदिर नहीं गया, पूजा नहीं की है, वो अपनी गाड़ी में जा रहा है, ट्रक में जा रहा है, उसने 5 लोगों को गाड़ी में बिठाया, हॉस्पिटल पहुंचाया, उनकी जान बचाई। आपकी भाषा में खुदा का बंदा कौन है, मैं या वो? उसने कहा आप हैं। मैंने कहा कि आई रेस्ट माई केस। इन आवर वे ऑफ लाइफ, इन आवर हिंदू वे ऑफ लाइफ, it doesn't matter how many times you pray, but what you do that defines you. आपके कर्म आपका धर्म बनता है। This is how you and I, we have to engage in conversation, from Parents Teachers Association to communities that we live in, education department, and everywhere else. You got to get active in the communities that we live in. If you do not get active in the communities that we live in, then you end up being nobody.